Okay, so we're back, and we're going to be doing more work to this thing. Okay, so we recently did the timing belt on this car, and in doing that I replaced all of these things that you will see now on the screen. Okay, great. So now that we're past that, one thing that I was not able to replace correctly was this intake air pipe. Now this has been a pain in my dick because what this really is an S60R air intake. Of course, what this car is an S60 T5. This would have come with a different airbox from the factory. Now, there's benefits to having this one, so I'm still going to keep it around. The main benefit is that the filter size is larger, so you're going to get more air through it. A bunch of other reasons you can say you have it for, street cred, whatever. But the problem with that is that these intake air tubes that go from the box to the inlet of the turbo are incredibly expensive. For something that is just a plastic tube or a silicone tube, now that I have in this case, these things are upwards of $300 in some cases. So, very cool. And what I've found from that cool discovery is, unfortunately, none of them are good except the stock one. For some reason, nobody can make one of these that actually fits well. It's very difficult to fit it into these cars because there's a number of clearance issues, as you can see. The main one is going to be these brake lines right here. So this is your ABS unit. So this is what fires your, ABS brakes, all of your brake lines. You have your master cylinder right there for the brake lines and the clutch in this car because it's a stick. And they like to rub right up against these ABS brake lines, as well as the master cylinder, the sensors for the master cylinder, and a bunch of other items. They also always include these stupid blow-off valve ports, which, I'm not 25 anymore, so I'm not going to be having one of those. So basically all of these suck, and especially the one from IPD here is not that well designed. It doesn't fit well in these cars. They say that it's a better design than stock. I honestly don't believe them. IPD really stands for International Poopy D, and I just don't think they're making that good of parts anymore for these cars, especially their aftermarket solutions. They're not just tailored to the cars anymore. I don't know if they have really unstock cars now, and that's just what they design their vehicles for, but if you have a semi-stock Volvo and you're trying to use their parts in applications like this, it just doesn't work. It's not good. So don't buy this if you have a car that has a ABS setup similar to 2006 or newer Volvos, and this shorter fuse box. I just don't think it's going to fit well for you, unfortunately. Okay, so what are we going to do to fix that? So I did buy the stock one at great price. This was $270 for a 2-foot tube that has a heated orifice on it. That's what she said. Anyways, this will work as well as it did when it was new. My old one had the lip break off the bottom, and that's why I stopped using it, because it was going to let in excess air eventually. It was going to start causing engine codes, other things that I didn't want. This one I thought would be the solution to it, like we just discussed. It's not, because it's from International Poopy D. Alright, so the first step is going to be to remove this air box. And there's one really fun bolt that kind of lives underneath here. We're going to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. And not break the connector. Well, break it slightly, I guess, but not badly enough. It's going to be difficult to film, but basically what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and remove this over the engine pipe. Holds all of the boost, and we're going to be removing it so that way I can get to the clamp for this stupid hose. Hose. Okay, so we're going to have to make even more room for this, and part of that is going to be undoing these lovely bolts that hold in the harnesses. There's one there, and then I believe there's also one back in there, that silver shiny one. I used the wrong bolts the last time I put this together because I lost them, and now I hopefully have the right ones, so that's going to be something satisfying to put in here. So just ignore me while I round off that bolt really quick. Alright, so now I should only have about two things left to do. There are a series of tubes that connect to this main tube. And unfortunately, you can't see them because I'm not good at filming things. Do you see what I mean when I said this wasn't very well designed? Now it can squish, but I don't want to squish anything important and break it on the way out. There's just so much that has to come out of the way of this. It's nearly impossible to install it without breaking something. It's almost like you would have to spray WD-40 on it to get it to even come out of here. Victory! So, as you can see, we've already had several issues with this. Number one being that this thing is not supposed to be like that. So this won't even remove correctly. You can basically install this pipe one damn time for $300 and it won't work because it's just going to clip everything that goes back into the engine. There is one benefit though. It's very bouncy. As you can see, this is the space that you're left with to fit this in. For reference, here is my hand. You do not have that much room. You have, like I said earlier, these ABS pipes to deal with. You have the sensors for the master cylinder on the bottom that tell it whether or not you're out of fluid. And then there's the turbo inlet. Now that turbo inlet has to have these two heater core hoses, so you actually need to sneak the inlet on over these two hoses even. So as you can see, this was a kind of an impossible task and not Volvo's brightest hour. Not to be insensitive, but I'm wondering if this is what it's like to deliver a baby. A really annoying, plastic, expensive baby. Gotta love life's humbling moments. Some days they're all you have to go by. Okay, and with that we finally have the new intake tube into position, clamped onto the turbo, the hose is connected, etc. So now we're going to go ahead and put that support bracket bar in. But before I do that, we're going to need to fix something that I broke last time, which would be the cam seal inside of this here cam. I hurt it a little bit. You're going to see what I'm talking about. So as you'll see, there is something inside of here that there shouldn't be, which is oil. And there's a seal at the end of the cam that prevents oil from leaching into this cap and getting slung all over inside of here and all over this cam position sensor and a bunch of other things. So we're going to need to fix that. And as you can see, there's all of that nastiness inside of that cam, especially towards the bottom. We have all of that lovely oil, everything else. So we need to clean that up. We're going to remove that old seal first, and then we're going to continue cleaning that up and installing a new one the right way this time. So we can start to see the carnage that unfortunately occurred to this old seal, or I should say this new old seal that I just installed improperly. So it literally lost part of the lip of the seal, and that's why it was leaking so badly. Alright, that's better. So now, in order to ensure that we have correct installation of this new seal, we have the official CTA Tools rear cam seal installer. We also have a brand new cam seal from Victor Reigns. Not my typical brand I would have used. I did use a genuine Volvo seal for the first one. However, duty calls, and these were not bad from Rock Auto in terms of price, and you know, if I need to replace it again in the future, it's not a huge deal because now I have this tool and it takes about 20 minutes to do. So we're going to take some O-ring lube, which is just a little terrifying. But anyways, we're going to use this O-ring lube, get her nice and wet. Lubricate the inside, so hopefully we avoid any blowouts on the way in this time. It's totally what she said. So this is what it'll look like. We're going to fiddle some stuff out of the way here. Now I have been told stories of this bolt breaking off inside of the cam, so I'm going to be very careful in driving this in and just get it snug. I'm going to use a ratcheting wrench here. This is a 17 millimeter. So now we'll back this off. And that looks better. That's literally almost perfect. I'll show you what I mean here. Let's get you out of there. Now we have a cam seal that doesn't have any lips on it, doesn't have any parts of the seals trying to explode. Alright, so now that's literally perfect. As we can see, we have no lips of the cam seal trying to blow out onto the outside as previous. Should sit in there nicely and prevent any oil leaks going forward. And as they say in the business, assembly is reverse of installation. Sensor, cap, and sensor itself all cleaned. Where there's no oil interfering with our cam signal or ruining what could be an expensive sensor. Alright, so now we're going to put the cam wheel back on. This is essentially what they call a cam aperture wheel. So these little points, as they ride by, they trigger the cam sensor, and that's what triggers the ECU to fire the spark on the cylinders, or not to fire, depending on the timing. These little ears, fun fact, are incredibly fragile. So don't break them. And don't hammer it on. There's only one way it goes on. It's keyed. What I like to do is I like to stick it on, and I like to use the bolt to draw it in. Go slow. Don't be a gorilla. That should be tight enough. I think the official torque spec is around 12 foot-pounds, 10 foot-pounds. The other confusing thing about these sensors is that there are two holes through which to put bolts on either side. You're going to want to pick the one that you used previously. You'll know by how much dirt it has. Now we can install those new screws I talked about earlier into the bracket. Hopefully these are indeed the right size. We will have to see if they are. Okay, they are. Wonderful. Did something right for once. They're also the right color, because silver shiny bolts do not belong in a Volvo engine bay. Perfect. Now I like to put my clamps on so they're on a particular side. That's just me. I find it's a little easier to align things that way. Alright, everybody be cool. Everybody be cool. I love it when 8 pieces of plastic fight me for superiority at once. Okay, come on, dog. Get in there. Get in there, dude. Wow, go figure. It fits perfectly. Wonder why that is. Could it be that it was meant to be? And not some stupid piece of aftermarket silicone garbage? Manufactured by a failing aftermarket business? With a shitty return policy? I wonder. And everything is just aligning. This is perfect. Maybe this was worth $300. That put back on there. Tighten this clamp. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to feel around for that for 8 years. Okay, so that bolt that goes there is definitely not going to be a returning guest on the channel, as it's now down in the Fran shroud, and I'm probably not going to retrieve that until I take this car apart again to do a clutch on it. Very cool. Okay, so I figured while I have the time, the last thing that I would really want to do on this car to improve the reliability, if anything, is going to be to replace the spark plugs. So we're going to take care of that today, because I have no idea how old the plugs were in this car when I got it. And one thing I like to do to every car I buy is just to make sure that everything is square in terms of maintenance items. That way if something else random breaks, I know it's not one of the easy things. Alright, so another thing I'm going to do while I'm in here is I'm going to go ahead and mark all of the coil packs with numbers. That way if one of them dies, I'll know which one it is and how I can potentially go about fixing it. I believe on these cars, unless I'm very wrong, this is cylinder 5, this is cylinder 1. So that one, as we can see, ain't looking so hot. So I'm believing that we're going to have a valve cover gasket there. That area of number 4 I've found really likes to leak on these cars. this PCV crossover tube does like the leak on these cars and cause a mess, especially if it's older. I know this PCV service system just got serviced before the car got sold to me. Probably about 2 to 3 years back, near the time when the plugs were done. So if this wasn't clamped down correctly, then that could explain why there's a bunch of oil all over the place and it looks like a P. Diddy session. So in order not to let anything fly down the cylinder holes, we're going to go ahead and get a vacuum. Just kind of clean this up. I'm going to give you a better angle of that. So another thing that you can't see but is definitely present in there is that there is a bunch of gunk in the actual cylinder holes because of what I was just talking about. So I'm just going to cover a rag and some brake clean. I'm going to be very careful not to push too much of it into the cylinder walls. It's fine if it has a little bit of paper or something like that, because that can be easily burned and pushed through the exhaust and out the back, but anything solid is going to be a problem. Now, does this serve any real functional value? No. There's nothing I'm going to gain by doing this other than knowing that it's going to be clean in there. Hi. Okay, cool. So we've solved some things today. It's idling a lot better. Seems to be just overall running a little bit smoother. So subscribe.